Hello and welcome to Sestra-Tainment. I'm Lenora.
And I'm Dee.
And we're coming to you today talking to you about different things in the entertainment world, whether it is TVs, movies, TikToks, anything social. We're here for it.
We got it.
We got
you.
And so, sis, I think you're going to start first
this
week.
So this week I have C. C is the, it is on the Apple TV.
And S-E-E, not the letter C.
Yes, yep. S-E-E. This is starring Jason Momoa, has Dave Bautista, Alfre Woodard, Sylvia Heoks, Hera Hilmar. They are great in this.
Okay.
Great cast. Like it's really good how they have everything played out. It came out August 27th of last year, so the whole season is out now for season 2. Okay. But I'm just going to talk about season 1 and 2 together. So basically, is the story of a chief of a tribe, and his name is. It's going to be Jason Momoa. It's the story of the chief of a tribe, and the tribe is called Alchemy. And so it's just a story of him trying to save his tribe from these witch hunters that keep popping into his tribe or whatever. And basically they are they go into other camps and everything because the witch hunters go to other camps because they're looking for certain people. And one of the things that they are looking for is this woman comes to Jason Momoa's camp and she's pregnant.
Okay.
Jason Momoa can't have kids.
Got it.
So from there, she's pregnant. Now he's just like, hey, you're attractive. You can be my wife. So now I have kids from you, but even though they're not my own. So his now wife that just showed up at his camp is having this other man's baby, and he's protecting his wife and the kids from these witch hunters.
Okay.
Right? And the reason is because the kids come out and they can actually see. They have the gift of sight. So everyone throughout this whole show is blind.
Right. That's the whole purpose.
That's the whole purpose of
C. The people. Yeah. So are the witch hunters? Is that what you call them?
Yeah.
Are they? Because I started watching it, but I haven't finished the first season. So are they tracking down people who can see?
Yeah,
and that's why they're coming
that's what they're called. They're witch hunters because if you can see, you have to be a witch, and you have to, it's kind of like the back in the day
Salem witch trials.
You have to be burned at the stake type thing. So Jason Momoa is basically trying to save his 2 kids from the witch hunters, because they're trying to find, people who can see, and they figured that these kids can see. So there's one man, and the father of the 2 kids, he is the main guy that they're going out looking for. Okay. He's the main witch, I guess you would call him, that they're going out looking for because he has a gift of sight. He is a grown man like everybody else, but he's going around to different camps and just planting his seed because he knows that his kids will be able to see. So it's the story of that. It's really great, how the family is together and everything. The whole story about how the kids will be able to see is awesome. And I mean, I don't know. I think it's a really good story. But what it is but it is the struggle of the whole struggle of everybody having to deal with it. The kids having to deal with it. The mother having to deal with it. Jason Momoa having to deal with it. It's the struggle of all of them. And then also each person has their individual secrets. So you find out different stuff about that. And then also in season 2, they introduced Dave Bautista. Then, the big guy who's on, he was WWE.
Guardian of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Dave Bautista. So they introduced him, and he does a really good job at being the nemesis or the antagonist to Jason Momoa's character. So, it's not much I want to say about it, but it is a good show. It is 2 seasons.
Okay.
It does take you a while to get through them, but it does keep you wanting more. So definitely, if you were into shows like that where people are out in the wilderness, this is now the future. It is because now people are knowing what books are, and they were we never knew what books were because we couldn't see.
Yeah.
So now it's they don't know what electricity is. They just
Cars.
know. Yeah, they don't know anything like that. But this is the future where it's the future is starting all over. The earth is starting all over. So all these people are going back to the ways of being nomads or being settlers and going out and fishing, hunting, gathering berries and stuff like that. All of that. But no, it's really cool how you see that whole transition from like when you watch it, you're like, oh, this is kind of like a sci-fi thing. Like it's not an actual place, and it's like, oh no, this is Earth. Like
This is Earth. This
this is
where we
actually
are,
like
yeah.
America. This is like I don't know how many years from now that
Yeah.
this could actually be a thing that happens. You
Yeah.
know? So yeah, but definitely check it out. SEEC on Apple TV.
On Apple TV.
Definitely check it out.
All right, thank you. And you said it's 2 seasons in?
2 seasons in, and the last season, the second season just came out last August.
Oh, okay. So we still got a little time before any future seasons, or even knowing if they have a third season.
Yeah. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure you could be able to Google it or something like that and be able to check and see if there is a third season coming up. It's opened up for a third season.
Yeah.
It could definitely be a third
The
season.
way it ended.
But it could also be like not a third season. Like I mean, like basically, if it's not anything that you'll be missing, it's kind of like the door's cracked,
Okay.
but you can't really peek in.
Yeah, just yet.
Yeah, just yet.
Got it.
Season 3 could be like, oh, I see something, but I don't know for sure if that's
see
gonna be. I see something. Yeah. All right, so what you got?
I have a tribute to Sidney Poitier.
Sidney Poitier.
And so, last week I talked about Betty White and Bob Saget. And then just this week, in the last few days, we found out about the death of fashion's Andre Leon Talley.
Yeah.
And Louis Anderson, it's a comedian.
Yeah.
And then the singer Meatloaf. So 2022 has been something.
Yeah.
Let's
I
just
feel
say
like
it's been
the 2020s just have us in like all over the place.
Yeah, all over the place. 2020 just started
Like
something.
A whole bunch of emotions.
A whole bunch of things. So, but I did want to take time specifically this week to dedicate some time to Mr. Poitier. And so what I'm going to do, because I kind of wrote almost like I was writing an article about him and his life and his story. So it might sound less dialogue-y and more like scripted in regards to the things that I don't want to miss.
But then also, so he's been acting for a long time.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that you don't want to miss.
There's things I don't want to miss, and I want to pay him his due because he is an icon.
All the homage.
All the homage. Okay, so basically, he, of course, we all know is an accomplished actor. And personally, I loved his distinguished and powerful voice. Like his voice when he spoke, and I am Mr. Tibbs. Like you just knew, that it was Sidney Poitier. Even if you did, it's like Morgan Freeman. You just hear the voice and you know who it is.
It's like Nina Simone.
Right,
It's no way of not being able to tell
that.
Who that
like I'm
is.
listening to a commercial now and I'm like, let's Nina Simone, of course. So anyway, but so Mr. Poitier was born actually in the Bahamas, and he moved to the United States at 15. And he moved to live with his brother, who was in Miami. And he worked odd jobs, odd and end jobs for a while. And he landed work with the American Negro Theater, where he took acting lessons and landed a stage role as an understudy to Harry Belafonte, which was new news to me. I didn't realize that. So this later led to roles on Broadway, and eventually he caught the attention of Hollywood. So he rose to the top of his profession at a time where prominent roles for Black actors, especially dark-skinned Black actors, were very rare. So Poitier became the first Black man to win an Academy Award for Best Actor in 1963. And that was while he was rising to the top of his profession and just blazing the trail for all Black artists that followed. So he once told Oprah in an interview that Black actors were so new in Hollywood that there was almost no frame of reference for him to use except as a stereotypical or one-dimensional character. And so he said that it's been an enormous responsibility, but I accept it, and I've lived in a way that showed how respectfully I accepted that responsibility. I had to. In order for others to come behind me, there were certain things I just had to do. And so that was kind of a quote from him to Oprah. And so therefore he said, or basically he refused certain roles that were demeaning. He just wasn't going to play those types of characters. So once he turned down a role that paid $750 a week, which back then, of course, was huge money. I mean, it's good money now.
That's huge for a Black actor.
Exactly. And he said because he didn't like the character. It was a janitor who didn't respond after thugs killed his daughter and threw her body on the lawn. So he said he would not imagine playing that type of part. And he said to himself, myself, I'm just not going to do it. It's not the kind of work that I want. So then he talked to his agent, and the agent was like, well, why can't you play it? There's nothing derogatory or racial in regards to this position. But he said, I just can't do it. Like, this isn't something that I would want to do. And he said his agent just never understood, like, why he would accept certain things and not others. But he was like, that's not the reality of how I would even react. So therefore, I have to be true to myself. So still, by the 1950s, Portier had landed regular acting work, and he appeared in his first Broadway production, A Raisin in the Sun, in 1959. And then he also starred in that movie 2 years later. And Portier's first movie was in the 1950s called No Way Out, which was a noir film in which he played a young doctor who must treat a racist patient. That led to increasingly prominent roles as a reverend in an apartheid movie, which was called Cry, the Beloved Country, or The Beloved Country. I guess it depends on if you say it like Toni Morrison or not.
Yeah.
And then a troubled student in The Blackboard Jungle, and an escaped prisoner in The Defiant Ones, which he and Tony Curtis were shackled together and forced to get along in order to survive. So with that 1958 film, Portier became the first black man to be nominated for an Oscar. But in 1963, he actually won for Lilies of the Field. So as a lone black leading man in the 1960s in Hollywood, he had tremendous scrutiny coming his way. He was often hailed as a noble symbol of his race, but at the same time, he endured criticism from his race because they thought he was kind of pandering to what Hollywood wanted of him. And so basically Portier's movies, a lot of them struggled to even get distribution in the South because of the fact that the choices of the roles that he took where he didn't want to be demeaned, then they actually had very limited white-run studios that would even produce them in the South. And plus, with racial taboos of him not being able to kiss white women and things like that, he couldn't even have any leading roles. And, so he appeared in what I think a lot of people know, In the Heat of the Night, which was a show where he was a Philadelphia detective fighting bigotry in a small town in Mississippi, and a doctor who wins over the white fiance's skeptical parents in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which I think was my very first Sidney Poitier movie that I ever watched. And I personally loved him in that. Like, it was great.
I mean, Katharine Hepburn was in that movie.
Katharine was in it.
Like that has to definitely be a big thing if you have Katharine, like if you are one of the lead stars and you're working with Katharine Hepburn, and you were like the main black character. You were the only black character. Yep. Well, besides Tilly, who was like the what was she, like the servant or whatever, and something like that. But I mean,
he was the doctor who was coming to marry her daughter, basically, or this is crazy. So Mr. Portier passed away on January the 6th at the age of 94. And heart failure is listed as the cause of death on his on his death certificate. And it also stated that he had some other issues like it was cardiopulmonary, I think that's how you say it, cardiopulmonary failure. He was in his Beverly Hills, California home, and his other underlying conditions were things like prostate cancer and Alzheimer's dementia. But for the most part, he was a true legend, an icon. His contributions on the screen were amazing. We already know that. And then those who personally knew him remembered him for his graciousness, his advocacy, and his work and goodness off the screen. So his daughter, who is also Sidney Portier, but with a Y instead of an I, she actually said that, I know people know he was good, but I don't think they know the depths of his goodness. It permeated every cell of his being, she wrote. And she also said, it's his goodness that changed the world, and it will live on forever. So rest in perfection, Mr. Portier. Job well done.
Absolutely.
So that's just what I wanted to do to kind of give him his own kind of flowers, so to speak.
Yeah, we need some little sound bites so you do like claps and everything.
Yeah,
we need to work on
that.
that. Let's work on that.
So, rest in perfection, Mr. Portier.
Yes,
so that's all I had for
all
that.
right.
What's your next topic?
All right, so my next topic, it's going to be a little lengthy.
Okay.
Okay.
I have one of those too.
It's going to be a little lengthy. It is. I'm very much into medieval movies. I don't know why. I just like watching them.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's because it's like back then there was no rules. You just, hey, you know what?
Do what you got to do.
Hey, we in war. Like that's whatever it is. Hey, you came on my property. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and take care of you. Like there was like no basic rules. You just did what the king said, and sometimes the king was just like, it's on you.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah. So I am going to talk about The Last Duel.
The Last Duel.
The Last Duel is on HBO and HBO Max.
Okay.
Definitely check it out. It has an all-star cast. You got Matt Damon, you got Adam Driver, you got Jodie Comer, you got Harriet Walter, you got Ben Affleck. Like, it is a really good cast.
Okay.
Great actors in it. They played the roles pretty good. Ben Affleck's role was kind of, Like, I would say this. Watching the movie, it could have been younger people playing these roles besides Ben Affleck and besides Matt Damon. It could have been some other
younger folks.
people who would have been, because, I don't even know how old Matt Damon or Adam Driver is, but I feel like Adam Driver is younger.
I think he's younger than Matt Damon.
Yeah, I feel,
and
yeah.
Affleck.
Yeah, but for the movie, how the movie is all put together, I can see like why they would choose like these actors. Ben Affleck, blonde, hate it, don't like it. Not with it. Okay. But anyway, the story of it is it's a story of Jean de Carouge. Okay. Apologize for my French, my French speaking. I'm just trying to make sure I get the names right. But it's about him. He was born. He ends up being a knight for King Charles VI in France. So just to put it in perspective, this is a point of view movie.
Okay.
But it's a point of view movie that is also medieval, and it also has like rape in it. So
it can be triggering.
Yeah, it can be triggering, but it's seeing each and everybody's point of view.
Right.
So with Matt Damon being Jean de Carouge, trying to get my right. He was a knight, like I said, for King Charles VI in France, and it is his point of view about the rape or so-called rape of his wife, who was played by Jodie Comer. Okay.
Killing Eve, Jodie Comer.
Yeah, yes, Killing Eve, Jodie Comer. Yeah. Like his point of view, he is the best guy in the world. He's like so sweet and like everything. Like dude, if you're supposed to be like in your like probably like 30s, 40s, and you have like a 16-year-old wife, you're not gonna be this sweet to her. Like you're not gonna be bringing her flowers and all this stuff. No, it's medieval.
Right,
it's medieval. Exactly. So his point of view, he's the best guy. He's a stand-up gentleman. You know?
Of course.
So then from there, his friend Jacques de Gaulle, the wife of Matt Damon, who is Carouge. And it shows Adam Driver's point of view from that whole thing. And then it's kind of like, I feel like Adam Driver, like his point of view was kind of like in the movie he's a pretty boy. Everybody like thinks he's a pretty boy. He's prim and proper, and like he's one of those guys like the women look at him and be like, oh my god, he looks good. But then also he was just like an a-hole.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying?
That wasn't his view.
No, I'm just saying in the movie, just watching it. I mean, even from his view, from Matt Damon's view, or from Jodie's view, all of them, he's just like still that kind of dude.
Gotcha.
But like he does talk about how he's in love with her and all this other stuff.
Okay.
But his point of view, I could see some stuff. And then it goes from the wife, who is played by Jodie, goes from her point of view, and that point of view is like. Still, like, Matt Damon is now not the nice guy anymore. Now he's just like a regular knight who just comes home. Where's my dinner? Okay, do this. You know what? Lay down on the bed. We're having sex. You know what? Why don't you just do this with my mother? Like, very, very, like, do this. Do what I say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even though his point of view, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. And then going on the perspective of Adam Driver, she sees him as arrogant. Which I could see that from like all points of view. Sees him as arrogant, but does see him as like, oh my god, that dude's like really attractive. But then it shows her kind of like in a light where she is America's sweetheart or France's sweetheart.
Okay.
You know, so then it's like you don't really know what to think when it comes to the point of views of this. So that's what really catches you. All of them are completely different. Like even the words that are said, like one memory is this guy says it, and the next memory is this guy says it. The next memory, somebody just shouts it out from like in the audience.
Yeah.
So like in the whole court that's around them. So it's just. I don't know how to explain it. It's a lot.
It just shows you how different people remember things differently.
Yeah, from
like
their
you
point
don't
of
have
view,
it being recorded, and so that's why even couples in relationships, it's like, no, you said blah blah blah. I did not say that.
I didn't say that. Yeah,
you might have interpreted that I said it that way, but
I
that's
didn't
not
say
how I
that.
said it. And it just shows you that flow of how one person sees something one way and somebody else sees it completely different.
All right,
way.
so you don't know for sure, like if it's a Me Too type situation where she's just like, okay, like. This guy's treating me like crap because I'm a female, and now this guy is raping me because I'm a female.
Gotcha.
Or if it's like she wanted to sleep with Driver because she already thought she was attractive, and then her husband treated her like crap.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like you don't really know, and you really never get a sense
never
of it at the
figure it
end of it
out,
because the whole movie is just about their point of views.
Gotcha.
So all right, so and then. The reason that the name of the movie is The Last Duel is because Matt Damon's character goes in front of King Charles and just like, hey, look, supposedly somebody like raped my wife. Just gonna put it out there. I'm gonna challenge them to a duel. Bam, here's my glove. Adam Driver comes up and he's just like, all right, well, I mean, like, you'll be able to know who's guilty and who's not because the Lord has it to where the guilty party will pass. Yeah. So, and then he goes and he picks up the glove, but when he picks it up, he has like this long cape thing on, and he flings that thing around so much, like hears, and then he just backs up slowly as he's like bowing to the king. So that's the reason why it's called The Last Duel, because this ends up being the last duel that ever happens in France. So, with Matt Damon being a knight, he, like, the king sees him as very noble and like, you know, like he like if I tell him to do something, he's gonna do it. He got my back. Adam Driver is just a squire, so he's below the knights.
Okay.
And with that, Adam Driver's best friend is Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is one of the guys in court for the king.
Okay, gotcha.
So he's just like, hey, like you the mayor of this area, you take care of this, but you just have to come back to me and tell me what's going on. So now Adam Driver and Ben Affleck, they best friends. So now when all this stuff comes out about rape, he's just like, hey, I got you, man. It has to go through court through me, and like I'm in charge. So like, don't worry about it. But when Matt Damon just goes and is like, yo, I'm challenging you to a duel.
Then he has no control.
No control.
Yeah.
It's all up to the king. So, like, that ends up being, like, the last duel of, like, I guess it'd be the French Empire. I don't know what you would call it in, like, the 1300s. If it would be an empire, a kingdom, or whatever.
And so you see the last duel. Of course, you're not going to tell us how the last duel ends, but you see the last duel. And is there something about this particular duel that makes it the last duel? Or
I think it was probably just because it was just like, maybe it could be because
just too barbaric or too.
Well, not just barbaric, but I mean, it probably because now I have two of my best fighters that are fighting each other.
Yeah, so one of them is going to be
One of them is going to be gone. So now it's just like,
sense. Yeah, that
like,
makes sense.
But then this guy right here, who's a squire, like, he listens to what I say and like does it. But then this other guy, he has the mind of, okay, I know the king told us to wait, but if he was in this situation, he would want us to charge.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it's like a catch-22 when it comes to like the king and just be like, yeah, no more duels. I don't want to lose no more of my men unless they're on the battlefield.
Especially if you have to go to war. Now some of your best men are killed by each other.
Yeah, like you don't want to deal with that. But Harriet Walter, she plays Matt Damon's mother, who is a very unhappy woman. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
She leaves when Matt Damon's off to war, she leaves, and that's how the whole rape thing comes. The wife, Jodie, is supposed to be in the house.
Yeah.
Right? She can't leave the house. Don't open the door. Like, you always have to be around my mother or somebody like that. Like, everybody's going to look out for you. Then what happens? The mother just wakes up. She was like, I got to go to town. I'm taking everybody that works in the house with me.
Oh.
So you got to stay inside locked up.
Great.
And then it's like from there, it's just like boom, 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 and then it's like so it's too much. But yeah, she plays that role good because she already has like that that scowl look on her face, and she's just kind of like, you can tell she wants to cuss out the wife, but doesn't say anything because she knows her place because that's her son and stuff like that. But yeah, she does really good. Ben Affleck, like I told you, he does play like the leader of the court for King Charles VI, and you know, like he has a back of Legris, and you know, he has like this hatred for Carouge because Carouge is the one who's the knight who's just like, hey, if the king was here, he would want me to do this.
To happen, yeah.
But then Ben Affleck's, his name is Pierre. I cannot pronounce his last name. Okay. I'm not even going to attempt to it. But he's like, you know, but the king told me to tell you all this, and you went ahead and did it your own way. Psh, get out of my face.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, if you're into history and in medieval movies, this is a good movie, especially when it has the point of views and you can see how, like, the main thing is, like, you always hear this person's point of view, this person's point of view, and then the truth.
Yeah.
So now we have this person's point of view, this person's point of view, this person's point of view, and the truth. But you never get the truth. Know what the truth. You just have to put the truth together in your head. Yeah, so like, once you watch the whole movie, then you can kind of figure out like what it would be. But it doesn't actually tell you what the truth is because you don't know. This is actually history.
Yeah, it's reminding me, and I think I might have mentioned to you when you were just mentioning that you were even watching this, that of The Affair on Showtime. For anybody who's watched that, it's very like, okay, you have the husbands, you have the mistress, you have the wives, and everybody's point of view just changes.
Totally
I might
different.
talk about that one day, but yeah, and it's like the clothes change. Like, oh, she was wearing something very skimpy when it comes from the husband's point of view for the mistress, but then the mistress is like, no, I had on a cardigan sweater, and that's my point of view of how this actually happened. And then the wife, you know, sees everything totally different as well, and the husband's just treating me like dirt. But then his point of view is, no, I was kind, I was sweet, so it's the exact same thing.
Matt Damon's point of view for Carouge, he is like, oh, me and my wife made love. And then when you go to Jodie's character, like her point of view, she's just kind of like, I'm trying to produce air.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's like, nothing more, nothing less.
And then, like, Adam Driver's just like, he'll make you happy. I got you, girl. Like, that's how it seems. He's like the arrogant, I got you, girl. I got you, boo.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, but definitely check it out. The Last Duel. It is on HBO.
The Last Duel. All right, great. Well, my next one is The Phenomenon. It is on Roku for free. You can see it kind of anywhere for a cost, but Roku has it for free on their channels. And basically, it's all about how the U.S. government has known for years about unidentified flying objects. So do you believe in UFOs, or that we are the only... Let me ask the other question. Do you believe that we are the only thing in the universe?
No.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't feel like...
there's...
it's so extensive. Like, how could it be?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that there's probably more people that are humans. I'm saying we're probably the only humans in the universe.
Yeah, I just feel
But there's other living organisms that are out there.
Living beings, or whatever the case may be.
There's something else. Yeah.
So I had heard somebody talking about this, and I was like, maybe I'll check it out and see what they say, because I'm not somebody who feels like, that everything that everybody says and the conspiracy theories and all of that are true. But at the same time, I'm not somebody who's naive enough to think that there's nothing else that's out there. And this documentary really goes into how the U.S. government has even released files to say, there is something else out there.
Yeah.
And they've done that recently. So I'll go and start with kind of where they started the movie, but it's basically like 1947. But basically they said there was this gentleman named Lieutenant Arnold who saw a flying saucer, and it flew over 1,200 miles an hour right past him. So he's in a plane. A lot of these reenactments or accounts and things that they're showing in the documentary are things that military personnel have seen. Okay. Navy and Air Force.
So this is like seen by their eyes.
By their eyes.
This is documented.
And their stories. There's a police officer there. There's kids in this story from a school, like all of that. But it's different people's accounts. So I kind of took notes as I was watching it. But he said it looked like a mirror, and it was going by so fast. He said that he tried to make a sketch. to like give to the Air Force and let them know what he saw, because he just couldn't believe that it was something that could move like that fast. And he was like, I don't think the U.S. has anything that can move that fast and also move in a V-shaped
Would you say 1940 something?
1947.
Yeah, 47.
So he was like, because if it could move that fast, like how could you do that when we have issues with people just trying to shoot up like
into space? Yeah.
Well, I mean, just shooting up really fast in their jets and passing out.
Oh yeah.
So
true,
the way
yeah.
that this was moving so fast and then
the
shifting,
zero gravity
like
type
how
thing,
could it
yeah.
shift and then still that person not have their brains all on the side of the wall of the aircraft, you know, because it would just move like a V, and you're like, whoa, it was where did it go?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. So he drew the picture, and he was a member of the Air Force. He let them know what he saw, and there all of a sudden all these photos started coming up of the same type of aircraft that other people had seen. And one person had a photo of that exact same aircraft like 2 weeks before. And the interesting thing about it, you know, they usually show you little saucer, you know, aircrafts. This particular one wasn't that. It was more like a D shape with a point in the middle of the straight part of the D. So it kind of had a round one part and then like a D, but the back of the D, the straight part, had a little point to it. And he drew it like that, and somebody had a picture of something that looked exactly like that. So he said that, you know, he got a lot of press and even got to meet the president because he saw this. And that was, Eisenhower, I believe, which is interesting because that goes to Eisenhower and the possibility of the whole thing
with American Horror Stories
and him starting the whole, you know, Area 51.
Yeah.
So, but basically he got to meet the president, but he was also ridiculed by people who felt that he was just seeing things. And so one of the gentlemen who did ridicule him, who was another military person, come to find out, he ends up being in a jet and sees 9 discs in the air. So he's ridiculing him like, you didn't see what you thought you saw. And most of this is happening in the Northwest or in the West in general. So New Mexico, Arizona, but then also up near like the Washingtons and all that kind of stuff. So it's happening somewhere out in the West. And so basically he's like, yeah, you didn't see it. And then the next thing you know, he sees 9 saucers, all like silver, metallic. And so basically he then became a believer, but the saucers he saw were all truly like coffee cup saucers that you would put on. So he was like, no, mine's look more like that. So then we skip to 1955. There's a flight crew with the Air Force, 2 different planes, 4 people total. They're flying around. They're seeing a literal flying saucer as well. So it's flat, silver, looks like a saucer. They saw it above them. It dipped below them really fast, and it was just right on the ground. And it was going across the ground, and he said it had no exhaust, it had no propulsion, it had no wings. He said it just kind of started going across the ground, and he said it was probably, not even as big as like your hand, like, you know, like he was saying it was about this thick. So if you could do that with your hand, just to imagine how thick he said it was. But it was just this silver, huge silver thing that wasn't even that thick. And so he said that it was going low. He said all of a sudden it vanished behind some trees and they lost sight of it. So they were going as fast as they could because they were like, it was flying. So they were going as fast as they could, as low as they could above the trees to try to get to it. It hid and they lost sight of it. So then they get ready to start flying again and get back up into normal flight height. Lo and behold, it's 2,000 feet above them. All of a sudden.
Shot up all of a sudden.
And they were just like, okay. So they couldn't believe what they saw. They were debriefed after they got out of the plane. And all of a sudden, something called Project Blue Book, or this group of the government called Project Blue Book, pulled them to the side, talked to them. They said that they ended up being public spokespeople. Like one of the guys became a public spokesperson for Project Blue Book.
Oh, wow,
but he talks about how the Air Force, he's like, look, the Air Force is very deadly. If there's something that's going on and it's an immediate threat, we're going to take it out. But they weren't a threat, so we didn't have those.
They didn't have to do it.
Yeah, we didn't have those types of orders to like do something to take it out, but it just made them nervous. So anyway, he said, then to go on, a lot of the sightings, as I mentioned, were military personnel. Some instances, they were really decorated and honored military officers who witnessed this. They were extremely credible people. They were going in front of Congress. They were going in front of, you know, conversations with the presidents at the time. They were having different conversations. A lot of them recognized either saucer-shaped or egg-shaped type objects that were in the air that lacked propulsion, wings, and the speed would be anywhere from 800, 1,200 to 2,000 miles an hour. Like it would just go. And sometimes they would see it go, stop. like on a dime, and then all of a sudden like shift directions and then go in a different direction. And so they said that it was in New Mexico, seemed to be a hot ground in the 1960s, which is interesting because Roswell is there. And there was this guy named Lottie Zamora. He was a police officer. And he said he was driving around in the desert and he came across this shiny object that he could just see the sun shining on. So he drives down to go find it or go to it. And when he gets to it, he says he sees this white object on the ground with two tiny, almost childlike people standing outside of it. So he said he was like, okay. So he tried to get on his radio scanner, blocked, couldn't get any signal. So he said he got out the car and started walking in that, like a little bit in that direction, but not completely. And one of them looked at him. And he said that in his opinion, he said that they were standing outside of it looking at their aircraft like they were trying to fix it. Uh-huh. And then he said all of a sudden, he said it was gone. Like the aircraft started like 200 feet above. He didn't mention anything about them getting in it. He didn't mention anything about whatever. He just said it was like 20 to 30 feet hovering above him. And then all of a sudden it just took off. And so then he went to his boss and was like, look, let me tell you what, like this is the craziest story ever. So then they sent out FBI, different groups, I don't remember if this one was specifically Project Blue Book, but different groups came out to talk to Lottie to find things. They have photographs that they put in this documentary of the spot where the landing pads, literally were in the ground, that they put rocks around to make sure that it wasn't disturbed.
Tampered,
And they saw little tiny feet that were like not even as big as your hand, basically. Oh, wow. So they said it was like, he said they were little teeny tiny, like childlike people. And all the encounters seemed to be little teeny tiny people, Yeah. There was another one where somebody was at a ball game in like, I don't remember if it was Scotland or somewhere like that, but they were at a game. Everybody at the game saw this thing hovering over the field for an hour, just hovering over the field.
Just studying, just watching.
And they all were like, okay. And they said that you could see little things, like little teeny kids on the top of this craft. So they started waving at the things on the craft.
Thinking that it's like the Goodyear blimp, and there's people standing outside of it.
And the things started waving back. The things at the top started waving back. And then all of a sudden it took off. And so they were just like, okay, we all had this experience. Yeah. But I was thinking of Men in Black too, like how when the government always comes in, like the FBI is always coming in.
Shine the light.
And like just saying,
erase your memory.
I don't know, But poor Lottie, he ended up getting ridiculed as well. Like he ended up talking to the government, sharing information. He even went on tours and things like that, stopped being a cop, like the whole 9 yards. And he said that he would get ridiculed. People like, oh, you seen any tiny people lately?
Hey man, look, the truth is out there.
And then it ended up being that people started writing him and telling him their own experiences and their own stories. And little kids would write him and say, hey, can you tell me about the, space people you saw? And were they nice? And blah, blah, blah. Like little cute little, letters that the kids would write. But other people were like, oh my gosh, I thought it was just me. But what you described is exactly what I saw. And so anywho, then they had two schools. One was in Australia. One was in Zimbabwe. So if one of the schools in Australia, one kid looks out the window and he's like, hey, everybody, let's go outside. It's a UFO. And so all the kids run outside. And lo and behold, it was an unidentified, when I say UFO, an unidentified flying object. We don't know what it was. Yeah. But it ended up being over their playground. And it landed not far away from their playground in the trees, like in the brush. So some of the kids ran out the classroom,
to go see it.
Looked. The science teacher went out there as well. All of these people had the exact same account of what they saw, including the science teacher.
Oh, wow.
But the government came in, told everybody you didn't see what you thought you saw. It's not what you thought, and threatened the teacher in this documentary and told him, if you continue to say this or you spread anything about this story, we're going to say you were drinking on the job and you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your job.
But see, I will say this. One thing about the government, I would say, with that whole, like, hey, let's not, like, if there is something that's come to Earth, the government is smart by being like, no, you didn't see nothing. No,
yeah,
because if not, you see how divided the world is right now. Well, and think about how many people would now start like being outside, like see something, be like, I'm gonna shoot it down.
Yeah, that's why they said that the government did what it did to kind of just not make everybody panic and go into
Yeah,
panic mode. So with the Zimbabwe kids, it was a school of a bunch of little kids, and they had the same thing, flying saucer hovering. It landed off the corner of their playground. They ran over, but this time the kids said that the beings got out.
Oh, wow.
And we're standing there, little tiny, like, you know, beings, but they said 3 feet away. Like, not far at all.
Oh, like just close.
Like, very, very close.
Like E.T. Phil Home? Ouch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they do talk about the extraterrestrials in there. But basically, all of their accounts were the same. And now they followed up with them for the documentary almost 20 years later. And they remember it exactly the same. And they said, we were told that we didn't know, that we didn't actually see this.
Yeah.
But I remember it very vividly. And this is the truth.
Like, we do have a whole classroom of people who remember the same thing. And then, the government comes and tells you, no, you didn't see that.
Yeah.
But everybody has the same story in this one class.
Right.
Like, it's like, come on.
And it's not anything from a political perspective of Democrat this, Republican this, Libertarian
it's just the whoever's of the
general,
earth, the earth government.
The interesting thing is that, like they said, there have been scenarios in which they have actually had presidents who haven't known that these secret task force are taking place because they don't want the president to have to answer any questions about it. So they're keeping it secret from the president.
Don't ask, don't tell.
So they actually have Bill Clinton, for example, in this documentary where he was like, I was trying to find out stuff, but nobody would tell me anything. He was like, so if there are things going on and if there are these secret groups that are doing certain things, they wouldn't even let me as the president know about it. And Harry Reid, who recently passed away, he got money for a task force so that way it was a bipartisan task force. So they could look into it and just be transparent to the public and share information. And that started before Obama's administration. So it was with Bush's administration, went through Obama's administration, and just recently ended during Trump's administration of that whole task force of just trying to figure out what is going on. Because there's secret groups out here that even us as senators and Congress people don't know what's going on.
That's crazy.
And so he was talking through that and saying, and he's very candid on the documentary. He's like, it's out there. Like, just know it's out there.
It's something out there.
There have been materials that they have found. Don't know how the molecular structure of the materials is such that none of our scientists have ever seen it. So they're not actually, like, even the scientists on there are like, we're not saying that it's from outer space, but we're just saying that it is at an atomical level different than what we have ever seen before. So as we're looking at certain elements like titanium and H2O and carbon and these are something completely different.
So it's like, somebody just dug it up. It's always been in the earth. I don't know what you're talking about.
We're working from 80 elements. They're working from 253 different isotopes.
Oh, wow.
So they're just like, that's the difference of what it is. And so there was another scenario where they said in Russia, after the Cold War, there was a spacecraft that just hovered over top of the nuclear weapons, launched them, like cut them on, like like they're getting ready to launch. And then for 15 seconds, it was like, oh my God, they're getting ready to launch. Stop. Somebody manually stopped this. And then all of a sudden they stopped it. And then the people had to like manually, just reset them so that way they wouldn't launch. And then the spaceship just flew away.
Wait, so the spaceship turned on,
hovered over
these big things that can destroy the world, and turned them on.
That's the story in the documentary. Yes. And by the way, where do the spaceships normally go? To the places where the nuclear sites are. So for the most part, they have said that Russian situation is one that a lot of people witnessed and observed. But there's other scenarios in which they showed this map of all the different nuclear stations in the world that have had spaceship sightings near them. Like, they're just knowing where they are. They're not doing anything, but they just know where they are. So it's just fascinating to like watch this when you're somebody who's kind of skeptical and like, I think there's something out there, but they're coming and they're doing this and some people are seeing it, but not so. You would think in this day and time there'd be more videos or evidence or something. It's just hard to say. So anyway, I'll just kind of leave it at that. But there's a lot of things. There's studies. There's like I said, this whole task force looking into it. And it's things that have literally been happening since the 1940s. And I haven't even gotten into Roswell. I haven't even gotten into the Rockefellers and how they play into this. It's like whole thing. So, but it was a really interesting documentary that does just, even if you're extremely skeptical, knowing all the things that are out there and how the government has like, like one of the scenarios, they were like, oh yeah, all we did was have a weather balloon that was going up to test the weather, and the silver that you saw was just from the weather balloon. And then the military people are like, I think I would know what a weather balloon looks like. Like I'm not that stupid.
Yeah.
So then what happens? They reinvestigate it in 2017 or 2018, and what's the findings? It was a weather balloon that went up, and that's all that they saw. And it's like, I'm not quite sure that I buy that. And even the way the weather balloon looked compared to the what the people saw,
totally different things.
Looked totally different. So and they even had like locked in. Some of the military people had locked in their guns on a particular thing to follow it, not to shoot it down,
but just in case, because if something was to go down, they just had to have it already locked and loaded.
But it was moving too fast for them to even follow. So when they were trying to lock, because normally you lock on the target, and wherever it goes, you can follow it. But if it's shooting by 1,200 miles an hour, your little target's not going to go that fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share. That's why I said I had a long one too.
I'm thinking about this as far as like with spaceships or whatever, any kind of UFO. I'm not saying that's a spaceship, but let's say it's a UFO, like any kind of UFO. When it moves that fast, does it break the sound barrier?
They don't have any sound. That's the other thing they talked about in there. That they are completely quiet. They said the most you will ever hear is a little light hum, and they do emit a lot of heat. Like even the little kids standing near it, they were like, oh, it was super hot, like you were standing near a fire. So they were like, it's heat, but it's not anything that is sound at all. Like
but that could be heat coming from the Earth's atmosphere, breaking through that.
Yeah. So,
wow. Have you ever seen SNL with Kate McKinnon talking about when she got sucked up into it's like her little bit. It talks about, it's like usually her and whoever the guest star is. And she talks about being sucked up
when she's smoking the cigarette.
Yeah, she's smoking a cigarette. Yeah. It's so funny because everybody else's like reenactment is like talking about, oh yeah, like they just held me and then they just prodded me and like you know,
she's got a whole
and she's just like, nope, they just kept definitely just like putting their hands inside of me, outside of me, doing all kinds of stuff. I came back without my pants on. It's like, oh my god, like
such a silly person.
But what was the name of the show again?
The name of it is The Phenomenon.
The Phenomenon.
Yep, and it's
definitely
on Roku. Like I said, if you put it in your Fire Stick, it'll pop up, but it'll have what the cost is for it. But on Roku, it's free.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into that.
Yeah, it was really interesting. All right, your next one?
The truth is out there. All right, my next one is a Netflix movie called The Guilty.
Okay.
This one came out a while ago. I'm gonna have to look it up and see exactly when it came out. This one has, the cast is Jake Gyllenhaal, Peter Skarsgård, couldn't get it out. Riley Keough and Ethan Hawke. Now, I will say this: even though mainly you see, basically the only person that you really see is Jake Gyllenhaal because of like it's kind of like it is only him. So it's basically him, but I could hear Peter Skarsgård talking, and I was like, oh, that's Peter Skarsgård. Like, you know, you hear different voices of actors, but you don't actually see them.
Gotcha.
Which is kind of the thing. But this movie is very emotional. It'll make you angry, sad, hurt, aggravated, like all these emotions. You'll go through like every single one of these emotions. Like, I definitely did. I was just kind of like, would you just do oh my god, like, and then I was just like, oh my god, that's like so sad. But so basically what it is Jake Gyllenhaal, his character, he is a 911 dispatcher that is demoted from being a police officer into being a 911 dispatcher. You find out later on why he ends up being demoted and everything throughout the movie. But I would say this, him acting really, really good at like acting out the feelings of how like this person would actually feel. So like somebody calls in 911 and the lady says, you know, like they've taken me.
Yeah.
But she has to talk in code, so now he's just like, okay, what are you in? Are you in he's like, just say yes or no when I get to this car, truck, van. Okay. She's like, yes. And then he's just like, okay, when I say the color, tell me what it is. He's like, red, green, yellow, blue, white. She's like, yes. So now he's, but the thing is that I did, like, 911 operators have to be like, okay, I have to put you on hold. And she's sitting there freaking out, crying. And then he's like, I have to put you on hold so he can go and talk to, like, the police and EMT, like all of them, and then click back over. So, like, that is a lot right there. Like, that has you on the edge, like, of your seat, because you're just like, all right, you gonna make it back in time? Make it back. All right, good. Woo. All right, man, you made it back in time. Still on the phone.
Wow.
Like, yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, that's really good. Like, you definitely feel helpless when you're watching this. So, like, the helplessness that while you're watching it, you could, like, well, I'm, like, very empathetic, so I could, like, feel I could feel, like, oh my God, like, this guy he went from being out there, being able to, like, find this car, and, like, his determination as a police officer of, okay, this person is missing, they're abducted, boom, I'm doing everything. I'm breaking all the laws to go and find this person, this van, this car, this truck. I'm going, like, doing this. And then he's talking to someone who's at a precinct, like a police precinct, and they're just like, are you calling again? Look, unless we have the plates, we can't do anything. Yeah. It was like, you know the protocol. He was like, I understand, but if you have anybody on the highway going down this way, tell them to look for this, tell them to start pulling them over. But this is also when it's the California brush fires. So no police officers can really see in front of them. So that's what makes it even harder. So I mean, like, it's good. It takes you through, like, an emotional roller coaster. Really good movie, but I'm not going to say it's a must-see. Okay. I'm going to say it's, like, one of those, like...
If you like that intense suspense.
Yeah, it's drama. Suspenseful. Like, it keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
Like, I could definitely see mom watching, but, something like that, yeah. But, or, like, yelling at the TV or something like that. No, you got to do this, you know. But, like, definitely, it is one of those type of movies. And I would definitely say it is... I would say if you are into entertaining movies like that, where it just holds your attention, everything is just
every
like
piece of it,
every single second, it's like that. But if you are kind of like, I'll have to be in the mood for that. That's why I said it's not a must-see option for everybody, but it is definitely
Okay.
Because I'm one of those people. But like I said, once again, it is called The Guilty, and it is on Netflix.
The Guilty. All right, great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm calling an audible. I was going to talk about something else, but with our limited time, I actually need a lot of time to talk about the other thing that I was going to talk about, so I'll save that probably for next week.
Okay. Right.
But for this week, I'm going to talk about a TV show called A Million Little Things.
A Million Little Things.
Yes. So this TV show stood out to me a little bit like This Is Us, where, you know, it has some emotional moments in it. I know sometimes people kind of enjoy the emotional moments of This Is Us, and I'll probably talk about that one day too. And then some people I think are just like, oh God, what kind of tear-jerking thing are they going to try to do this time around? But for A Million Little Things, it starts off as 4 men in 4 different scenarios and stages in their life. And so you have David Giuntoli, I think is how you pronounce it. But if you think of the TV show Grimm, when it used to come on, he was the main character on that. You have Romany Malco, and he actually was on, like, the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah,
he was, like,
I do
the
remember
best
him.
friend, you know, in the shop,
in
the Best Buy kind of like shop that they used to work in. You have Ron Levinston, who, you know, and you think of the movie Office Space, where, you know, you had that person who was like, I need the TSA reports and whatever, and the guy, he's taking the computer and he's crashing it and all of that. Like, he is the main character for that. And then you have Jason Rode Rodriguez, who actually was in Psych. So I loved him in Psych. So he was the psychic in the TV show, the detective show Psych. I like Psych. So David plays Eddie, and Eddie is married to his wife, and they have a child, Catherine, but he's having an affair with his best friend Jonathan's wife, Delilah. And so all of this stuff kind of unfolds. His best friend commits suicide, and he doesn't know, is it because he knew about him and his wife? Yeah. Is it because of an investment that went wrong? Like, what's going on in that whole story? Right, so many things. And oh, by the way, when Romany's character, which he goes by Rome on the show, when he finds out that his friend has committed suicide, he has pills in his hand getting ready to commit suicide. So it's like a crazy, like, mixture of things. And then Gary, who is Gary Mendez, he is the guy from Psych. He's the one who is like the comic relief for everybody. So, but he's also the one who like steps up to the plate, and it's like, I'm going to step up to be the father figure for his kids. I'm going to step up and do this. I'm going to take care of this and those kind of things. And so Rome is married to Regina. She's a chef, and you go through their story. Are they having kids? Are they not having kids? Like, what is the situation there? You go through how Eddie and his wife, how do they, Catherine, figure out what to do after she finds out that he's had an affair with Delilah, who is Jonathan's wife. That's his best friend. And oh, by the way, she has a baby.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And then you have Gary, who had breast cancer, male breast cancer. So
which is a thing, guys.
It is a thing. You know. People should check into that, because there's people who have found out that they have that. Yeah. And so and I think it's good that they brought awareness to that too on the show. And so he actually meets a girl who's going through treatment, and then what that whole scenario unfolds. And that's like just the first, like, I don't know, half of the first season maybe.
Oh, wow.
And it's multiple seasons in right now. It's on ABC. It is a show that is still going on. Like, it hasn't been canceled. Okay. It's something you can still, watch episodes of. And it's really good. And we're not even getting into like the kids' dynamics and what they are going through. How does the little boy feel when he's going to have a sister that he didn't even know he was going to have?
Yeah.
And, they find out about Eddie and Delilah. And then what about, they go into even about a Me Too type situation that happens to one of the children. And then what was that situation where this girl is trying to get into a school, and then the teacher just puts her in a very uncomfortable situation. Yeah. And how is that handled? And then the lady who had breast cancer, who's going through her treatment, she is also a psychologist, and she does a radio show, but then how does she, or a podcast, I think, that turns into a show, but how does she deal with what she's going through, but while also trying to help others, but also not trying to have any conflicts because of the fact that, well, I can't really treat my friends.
Yeah.
So, those types of things. So it's a lot of layers to the show. And for me, it does have those feel good, touching moments. Yeah. One of the kids is figuring out his sexuality, and does he like boys? Does he like girls? And that whole thing. Like, there's just so many different layers that it's just, any scenario that somebody potentially could be going through in life, it's probably going to be on the show in one way or another. So that, to me, made it really stand out. And it's more of like, if I have the choice of, throw on This Is Us or throw on A Million Little Things, because I missed both of them this week, I'll probably put A Million Little Things on first.
Okay.
And then I'll watch
This Is Us just makes you want to cry.
I
feel like every episode is just like, how can, like, I feel like NBC is just like, so how can we make people cry this week?
Right. That's what I think the writers are doing. It's like, let's figure out how to just pull on the heartstrings of somebody, or make them think something has happened from a commercial, and then when you actually watch the show, something completely different happened. But I have to say, This Is Us, how it started, and it just tricking your brain, that in itself. And I won't say anything about it because people might not have even started watching that yet. But that in itself hooked me to watch it. And I do still watch it. But I, right now, am probably 3 episodes behind on This Is Us, because I think it just
I'm like
came
a year
out.
and a half, maybe 2 years behind.
Yeah, I think it just came back out for the new year. And I haven't been catching up with it. But for A Million Little Things, I'm right on target for it. And
A Million Little Things, the emotional part, is it make you like the sad parts and everything? Does it make you feel like This Is Us type emotional? Like,
it's This Is Us type emotional stuff, yes, but not as
deep.
Not as blatant.
Okay.
Not as blatant. Like, what This Is Us. Like, it's gonna be something. Like, I'm just waiting for the twist. So, like, the girl with, like, the lady with the breast cancer and everything, it's not going into, like, everything. It's just her, like, look, this is how I'm dealing with it. This is what I'm doing. Like, this is how I'm taking care of it. Whatever. So she's not doing that. But then it could be, like, if they are having a really bad argument, breaking up, whatever the case may be, like there's something going on there, it could pull on your heartstrings a little bit because you're like, oh my God, I just knew they were going to be together. Like, oh my God, like, are they really going to break up? They can't break up, this
exactly, yeah.
And it's things like that where you're just looking at that girl whose teacher is doing something and you're just like, oh my God, like it takes you through an emotional roller coaster, but not like This Is Us. It's more like, all right, maybe once every 4 episodes.
Okay.
As opposed to This Is Us. Sometimes I feel like it's every episode.
Oh yeah, I had to stop watching This Is Us because I was just like, yo, I'm cry every was it Thursday night? I don't want to do this. No, I'm gonna stop.
I'm not even
trying to deal with
I think it's Tuesdays now, but
whatever night
it around. But but that's what I'll talk about or wanted to talk about. It's just a million little things. It was on my list. It was something that I really wanted to share with people because I do feel like it's a great show. So that's kind of it for this week. Thanks everybody for joining us.
I feel like that was kind of fast. Was that quick?
It does feel fast, but it was not fast. Like we just are
we're
enjoying
on
it so much.
We're just on it now.
Yeah, that's
because we started off, it was shaky. Like our first episode, we recorded it without even realizing that we were going to record it. We was like, "Oh, you're just going to post this?"
Yeah, I guess we have a show.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, that's all.
Well, thanks everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, baby.
And everybody, we'll be back next Sunday. Take care.
All right, bye.